It's Sunday, July 17th, 2016, and this is the Product Mentor Talk. Today we're joined by one of our mentors, Vikas Batra, Product Management Leader at Nokia, to lead a talk on using insights discovery. And so for those of you joining us perhaps for the first time today, let me just briefly explain the format. Along the bottom of your screen here, you'll see mentors and mentees in the current session of the Product Mentor Program. Product Mentor Program is a global initiative pairing up mentors and mentees in the field of product management, making better products, and more importantly, and hopefully more than occasionally, making better product decisions. And so what we're going to quickly do is just go around the room with some introductions. And so the first introduction I'll go to is for Kwan. Tell us a little bit about yourself, whether or not you're a mentor or mentee.
Okay, my name is Furkan and I'm a mentee in the current session. Although I'm being mentored by someone else, but Vikas was kind enough to find some time from his busy schedule, and we had a very insightful discussion a couple of weeks back. So looking forward to this talk.
Excellent. And let's go to Cornell.
Hi everyone, my name is Cornell Pineda. I'm a current product owner based in New York City. I'm a mentee in the current session as well, and Vikas is my mentor, so I'm looking forward to this talk.
Wow, so a lot of fans in here, for the speaker. And so myself, I am Jeremy Horn, also known as the Product Guy, and I'll be moderating today. So post your questions, and you're probably joining us from our website, theproductmentor.com/live. At the top of the page, you'll see some video. At the bottom, you'll see a place to enter your questions. As the questions come in, as long as they're topically precise, or somewhat precise, I'll get them to Vikas in fairly real time. You get your answers, and we can have a lot of discussions with a lot of people that way. And if you have, as the more generic questions like what is a product, or what's a product manager, or does product management really exist, those types of questions I will still ask, but I'll save those for the end of the talk. With all that said, let me hand it over to Vikas to tell a little bit about himself and to start the talk.
Sure. Thanks, Jeremy. My name is Vikas Batra, and I'm with Nokia. I've been with the Product Mentor Group. This is my third session, and I've really enjoyed the stay here, mentoring three very bright people. So let's get into the talk, and I'll get started here. So imagine yourself being so good at communication skills that you can achieve the desired outcome in almost every interaction you have. Imagine yourself capitalizing not just on the best of you, but also the diversity in your entire team to manage your stakeholder expectations better. Imagine yourself doing that while at the same time improving your interpersonal relationships with the teams. If that's where you aspire to be, then today's talk, or this talk, shows you a path to getting there. So before I start the talk itself, I'll share a little bit of the background as to why did I pick this topic here. And basically it came about by I signed up for a workshop on insights discovery here at Nokia as part of the leadership development program, as part of which they were going to create a profile for all of the participants. And they sent us a link a few days before the workshop, which had a whole bunch of questions to be answered. And while I was going through those questions, a lot of the questions were repetitive, and the questions were such that the answers would vary so much by situation that I was getting the feeling that, you know what, this profile thing is not going to be very useful. But in any case, I went ahead, filled it up to the best of my ability, and a few days later we showed up at the workshop, and they handed us a 20-page profile that had a whole host of stuff: our strengths, weaknesses, how to communicate, how not to communicate, how do I manage, how do I like to be managed, and so on and so forth. And the surprising piece was that the profile was surprisingly accurate. And not just for me, but also for each of the 8 other people who were with me in the workshop. So much so that one of those people said after reading the profile that it's scary. How can somebody learn so much about me in just a matter of a survey that lasts 20-25 minutes? Another one said, my respect for psychologists has gone up. So after having such an accurate profile, I started digging deeper into it and wanting to apply it. And I went through some of my earlier notes, and this whole framework is very similar to Myers-Briggs type indicator, which you might have heard before. I went ahead and I looked at my notes from that workshop, and I found that I really had not applied Myers-Briggs after that workshop. And here was this model which supposedly or claimed to be very easy to apply. So I started applying this, and then this request came from Jeremy for this mentorship program as to I had to give a topic, and I picked this topic. I thought this would be of interest to all the product management, as communication skills is a big part of that. And we were going, and I gave the topic, and then after that we had the introduction call where all the mentees like yourself shared your OKRs, your objectives and key results. And I noticed that 4 of you said your objectives were related to improving your communication skills. And 2 of you said you were wanting to improve your skills in effectively managing stakeholders. So I focused this talk since then to use this model with those 2 objectives: improving your communication skills and more effectively managing the stakeholders. So what is this insight discovery model all about? It's basically a framework or a model around personality types. It's been developed by a company by the name of Insights, based out of Scotland. It's based on psychology work done by Carl Jung and his disciple Yolanda Jacobi. And the work that Carl Jung has done is very well respected. In fact, the Myers-Briggs type indicator is also based on the theoretical work done by Carl Jung. The profile that I talked about has been taken by close to 4 million people. It's been administered in 33 different languages in 100+ countries. So we were not the first few people to get that profile done. The company also has these, what they call as certified practitioners, who actually are certified to train people on this model and how to use it and apply it. There are 1,500 of those all over the world. One of them did the workshop that I attended. And the model itself is used by hundreds of companies, large and small, from retail players in Ireland to large conglomerates like Philips. It's used across sectors, for example, Novartis in pharmaceutical to Microsoft in tech. So literally used by hundreds of companies, and some of the companies don't even want to share the fact that they're using it because they see this thing to be something of a competitive advantage to them. The model is being used for a whole host of reasons, and one of at the heart of it is essentially to be able to communicate better, connect better with others, and develop good interpersonal relationships. It's a model that enables us to understand others better, and enables us to take care of them. But at the ultimate that you can achieve from this model, and that's my view, is where you go from a situation where in your team you are being frustrated by the differences in personalities of the team members to a state where you're actually fascinated and you're actually leveraging and you're cherishing the differences that you have within the team. To me, that's the ultimate application. And you do that while at the same time increasing the engagement level of the team members and bringing the whole team together. To me, that's the ultimate application of this model. So what is this model? It's basically, at a fundamental level, what it is saying is that uh, all of us have what they call as these four different color energies: blue, green, red, and yellow. And each of these color energies has certain traits and certain behavior types that we all exhibit. We all have these four energies in ourselves in varying degrees. Some are more and some are less. So what are these different traits or behavior tied to each of these color energies? So let's go one by one. So the first energy, the blue or the cool blue, and people who lead with this energy, by lead I mean this is the energy that they have is more than the rest of the three energies. That's what I mean by leading. So the folks who lead with blue energy are people who are very analytical, logical, objective. They can take in a lot of information without reacting emotionally. And they make their decision based on data, facts, and the analysis. And because they take data and analysis into account, they take their own time to make their decisions. So they're not, they take their time to make the decision, not really fast. They're fundamentally driven by data and analysis. Coming to the green, people who lead with green energy are caring, supporting, people-oriented. They have deep relationships, but relationships with few people. Their desire is more driven around connecting, understanding, and helping others. So they're driven primarily by understanding and helping others. Moving on to the yellow. People with the yellow lead energy are very outgoing. These folks have lots of friends and have lots of relationships, though not as deep as the ones who lead with the green energy. They like to involve others in activities that they do. They like to be involved themselves in activities as well. They have the ability to visualize the end state better, and ability to inspire and motivate and get people along with them together in that end state that they can easily visualize. And finally, the red or the fiery red. These are people who are action oriented, high energy, always in motion. Go, 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 go. Let's get done. They're task focused and results focused. Don't take a lot of time analyzing. Just get it done. They're driven by results and often by power and control. And these preferences of using this color energy is what I mean by that is we all use these color energies, different color energies in different situations, but there's certain energies that we use more often, and there's certain energies that we are more comfortable using with. And these are called essentially preferences. So it's not like when I say somebody who leads with blue energy is the only energy that he's only using. That's not what I'm saying. It's that energy that they prefer to use more often than other. The example or analogy to understand is someone who's a right-handed person or a left-handed person. Those who are right-handed person tend to do more things or tend to use their right hand more than their left hand. They use both hands, but they use the right hand more, and there's a preference to use the right hand in most situations. And these preferences are formed amongst all of us through our experiences and are formed pretty early on. So I can tell my 10-year-old son is definitely a blue. I can also tell that my 7-year-old is a green. And whatever preferred energy we have, we tend to look at the rest of us through that lens. So for example, if somebody who's red, who's very action oriented, wants to get into action, go, 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 to him, others may seem like too slow, not moving, getting into analysis, not taking the real action. And these differences often can turn into frustration, in particular to folks who are on the opposite side. So these color energies have opposites. Red is the opposite of green, blue is the opposite of yellow, and so on. And people who have preference for the opposite energy tend to be divergent from them, and that's where the frustrations, or between those sets of people is where the frustrations can come up. And part of that frustration comes from the fact that we are looking at the rest of us through that lens of our own preferred color energy. And how does that frustration look like? So for example, people who are cool blue or lead with blue energy, because they take a lot of time to analyze and make decisions, their focus is to make the decision right. To others, they may come across as indecisive, slow to move. Because they're not as people oriented, they may appear to be cold or emotionless. Similarly on the green, because they're driven by understanding, they tend to be accommodating people, and because of that they could come across as being submissive or unassertive or even lacking imagination or sometimes even intelligence, when they're fundamentally driven by understanding others and helping and supporting others. Yellows, because they like to involve others, they get excited very quickly. When a lot of people are getting involved, they could come across as being hasty. Because they like to involve people, again, they tend to share more, they like to talk more, and that could come across as being reckless or being indiscreet. They could also come across as making decisions too quickly. And the reds, they could come across as being too pushy because they want to take the action quickly. They may push others to take the action too quickly. They may come across as being too aggressive, too controlling, trying to push people in a certain direction. So the key here is to recognize what color energy do we, each of us individually lead with, and how that makes us look at others through our lens. So if I recognize that I'm red and I'm action oriented, I want to go, 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 go. If I understand that those on the green spectrum, for instance, are not viewing from the same lens, I become more accepting of the fact that if they take their time to act. So that's the key thing to recognize here.
So we have a question that just came in from Furkan. Let me hand it over to him to ask.
Okay, Vikas, I wanted to ask, do you see that today's success comes to those who are dominantly very red energy level? For example, if we talk about the modern day leaders, let's say Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, they predominantly shows the red energy level symptoms.
Yeah, so I think that's a point that I was going to touch upon further during the talk, but I'll state it here. There's nothing right or wrong about somebody having a certain preference, right? It's in as much as there's nothing right or wrong about somebody being a right-hander versus somebody being a left-hander. The whole idea is to be able to see what color energy you have your preference with, and you try to find a role, a job that is aligned with that, and that's where you will tend to be more effective. Now, if you look at a lot of the leaders, yes, I agree with you that I also see that there are more people in the red area that happen to be in the leadership role, but to me that's more of a fit. It's not that people with other color ranges cannot be in the leadership areas, but it's just a fit in the areas in the organization where they became leaders, that being that red energy was the right energy to have. If you follow what I'm saying, it's not that it's just that the environment that they were in facilitated people with the red energy to get into more leadership roles. But there's nothing that people who are green can't be leaders or blue can't be leaders. In fact, I've seen a lot of blue people in our company, it's a tech company, in leadership positions.
All right, that's all the questions we have at the moment. Keep them coming in to the productmentor.com/live. And with that said, back to you, Vikas.
Thanks. So to further elaborate on this color energy, This is showing the colored energies in terms of Carl Jung's defined personality types, and the two things that he defined. First thing is thinking and feeling. Those with blue and red dominant energy are more thinking, and those with green and yellow are more aligned with feeling. And what Jung defined thinking was as to people as to how they judge or how they arrive at judgments. And the thinking people are more logical, impersonal, and they tend to be more consistent with their judgments. Whereas people on the feeling side of things are people who make judgments based on what feels more pleasing or displeasing to them. They tend to add a subjective value to their decision based on the values that they hold, and that's how they make the decision. People with feeling decision making tend to become more adept at handling human relationships, whereas people with thinking judgment style tends to become more adept in handling or organizing of ideas and data. Similarly, there's another type, extroversion and introversion, which was actually defined by Carl Jung. And the red and the yellow on the extroverted side and blue and green on the introverted side. And by extroversion, what Carl Jung defined them as, these are people who have more interest in the outer world of people and things. You know, they like to see the world around them. They're more interested in the practical applications of things. Whereas the introverted people, their main interest is in their own inner world of concept and ideas. They like to reflect and think about things, consider things. So introverts tend to move slower because they think and they analyze and they're more focused in getting things right. Whereas extrovert, they tend to move faster. Just apply it and let's see how it works, and we'll take it from there. Here's another slide, and this is a slide from Insights, which they come up with these catchy phrases which makes it easier to remember. So they're the people with the blue lead energy are the people whose focus is to do it right. This is more in the work context. They want to take their time, but their focus is let's get it right. If it takes some time, so be it. Let's do the right way. People with leading green energy, their driver is let's do it harmoniously. Let's make sure everybody's concerns are understood. Let's make sure everybody's aligned, and let's make sure it's being done in a harmonious way together. Those with the yellow energy, they're driven by let's do it together. Let's involve the right people and make sure that everybody's contributing to it and everybody's doing it together in a sociable way. And red, they're driven by let's do it now. Let's not spend a lot of time and analysis and getting the right people or doing it. Let's just get to it. Let's do it right now and let's go. So this is just an easy way to remember what some of the key drivers are for each of the people who lead with these color energies. So what I would do right now is we'll do a small exercise here wherein we will go ahead and ask each of you who's on the call to take a piece of paper, or if you're watching it on a PC, go to a word editor and write down what color energy do you think you lead with, and a few bullets as to what makes you feel that way. And what we will do is, once you've taken a few moments to write it down, we will go around the conference bridge asking you guys to share your color energy and also those bullets or the stories that tell you that that's the color you lead with. So take a moment, write it down, and I'll wait for you. We'll go a little pause and we'll come back to you after that.
Vikas, would you mind switching the slide to the introduction one, where all the characteristics are described?
Sure. Do you see it now?
Yes, perfect, thanks.
Vikas, while they're doing that, another person had asked a question, and from an anonymous individual, and they were asking, the personality type has been around for a long time. How would this affect product management? Can you give us a real-life example?
Just stay with me, and I will provide specific examples tailored around improving the communication skills and also effectively managing stakeholder expectations. So just bear with me. I'm wanting to make sure that we understand the model before I get into the application.
All right.
All right.
I think everyone's had enough time. So.
Yeah. So let's get back to it. So before we get into it, let me share some thoughts which will help you understand the color energies a little better. So for those of you who've written down your color energy and have also written down a few bullets and found that the time I gave you to do this was too long, that's indicative of red energy. For those of you who got into this thought of, let me think how many times I use which energy, and it varies by situation. In certain situations I use blue, in certain situations I use green, and you know what, the situation also are sometimes more important, sometimes less important, and let me just maybe put some weight around each situation and then apply a logic around it, or in your mind you're creating an algorithm to apply the weights on situation and how I could add it all up, and that would give me which color do I lead with. If you're coming up with an algorithm, or you were coming up with an algorithm, chances are that in your mind you're still thinking about the algorithm while I'm talking. And if you're doing that, that is a clear indication of you using blue energy. For those of you who wrote down what the color energy was and were ready or excited to share your stories with the rest of the team, indicates yellow. Indicates you like sociability, you like to share your stories, that's your yellow energy. And for those of you who were thinking, when I told that we're going to go ahead and ask you to present to the entire group here, for those of you thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to present here right now, what will others think? If that was going through your mind, that's an indication of green energy. So here's an example around it. We will not go around in the asking people to present it. It was just an example to show how these energies show up in each one of us. All right. Another way to look at it is when I presented this slide as to what is insights discovery. For those of you who resonated the most when I shared all the data around it, it's used by 4 million people, 1,500 certified practitioners, hundreds of companies using it. If you resonated the most with that, indication of blue energy. For those of you who resonated the most with the fact that this would allow you to understand others, enable you to take care of others, indication of green energy. And for those of you who resonated the most in bringing people together, you'll be able to work together with the team, improve the team engagement level, indication of yellow energy. And for those of you who by this time were saying, get to the damn model, there's too long of an introduction, get to it, that's an indication of red energy. Hopefully the energy level recognition is there. And the key thing about recognizing your own energy, I come back to the same slide again, is understanding how you would be seen by others because of your dominant energy, and how you might see others which have a dominant energy different from yours, and how they may come across. And understand that there's nothing right or nothing wrong in either your or in others people energy level. They're just different. Accept that it's different, and the goal is to try to leverage that difference, which I will talk about a little bit later, to leverage that difference in order to improve communication and manage stakeholders better. So before I get into it, Here's a slide that talks about how do we identify the color energies of others. And of course, there are a lot of verbal clues, or based on what people say, you can determine what their preferences are. But there is body language that can give you a lot of clues even before people start to make verbal comments. So, for example, you see on the right, people who have a firm handshake, you just make the handshake, it's a firm one, they're on the right-hand side. If they're having a lot of eye contact and doing a lot of gestures, indication of red or yellow. On the other side, if there's limited eye contact, the handshake is gentle, gestures are not there, they're quite reserved kind of people, that tells you they're more on the introverted side, blue or green energy. Similarly, on the top, if they're more task-oriented, formal, business-like, their body posture is somewhat rigid. There's not much of facial expressions or emotions that are coming across, indication of blue or red energy. And the opposite, if they're relaxed, comfortable, there's facial expressions in them, and all that indicates green or yellow energy. So if you apply this, initially it may seem a little too hard, but if you start to apply it, it's, at least in my experience, it wasn't that hard to quickly understand the energy level in others. So now let's get into the application of this. How do we use our energy and the energy that we recognize in others to connect better, to communicate better? And the key here is to increase or adjust your own energy level to match with the energy level of whom you're interacting with. So let's say you're a red and you're trying to, or you're interacting with a blue person. The idea is to increase your blue energy level such that you resonate and you connect well with the blue person that you're interacting with. And so let me give an example here. So in my case, yellow energy is the lowest energy in me. And these are the people who like to talk, who like to social, who like to talk about how the weekend was and what did they do before you get to the real task related discussions. So I was talking to a couple of such folks some time ago, and it was like a 30-minute session that I had, and we were 25 minutes into the conversation, and we were just talking non-work related items. And I was just listening to their stories and involving in that. But in my mind, I'm going, come on, let's get to the task. I was here for a task. It's 20 minutes has gone by. When do we get to it? So the energy in me was get to the task first. But for them, for the yellow people, they are building a relationship. So to me, it seems awkward, it seems weird that we're spending so much time, but to them, to the yellow people, it seems we're building a relationship that they need to build before we can get into the tasks. So that's how it comes across, and it makes you feel awkward when you adjust your energy levels. So much so that I feel the more often you feel awkward in changing your energy levels, it's more often you're trying to get better. So to me, that's an indication of how well you are stretching yourself, how well you are improving yourself by looking at how many times you feel awkward. If going back to the left-handed, right-handed analogy, we are saying if you're interacting with somebody who's a left-hander and you're a right-hander, you also start using your left hand because the other person is using left hand. And it will feel awkward, right? Natural thing. In exactly the same way, it will feel awkward, but that's exactly what you have to do in order to connect better. In particular, when you are interacting with those who are of the opposite type from you, like I talked before, because on both dimensions of thinking and feeling, decision making, and introvert extrovert, on both dimensions, they're opposite from you. So let me talk a little bit more about these four people with these four color energies. People with blue, driven by, okay, show me the data. show me the facts, and then give me the time to analyze it. That's what they connect with, and that's how you can connect with them better. Understand that because they like to take their time, they do not like to be rushed. So don't force or push things on them to happen quickly. They also do not like to socialize. Socializing or being part of social gathering is more of a drain for them. So don't go down that path. On the greens, they're caring, they're accommodating. They may, because they're greens and they want to understand, as you interact with them, whatever concerns they may have, they may not share them. They may not share them, particularly in a group environment. Because they care, they like to be where you show them that you care for them. That's how you connect them. So do things that tell them you like them. Another thing with greens is because they are focused on understanding and being accommodating, there is a fear that they have that because of that they would be taken advantage of. So in order to connect better, you have to get the message across that you are genuine, you're honest, and you do not have that desire to take advantage of them. On the yellow, socialize. They want to be involved. Because they like to involve others, they like to be involved. Make sure you involve them. They like to socialize. They get energized by talking to people. It's very good thing to ask them how was their weekend, and let them share their stories and anecdotes, and listen to them. They care about friendships and affection. Demonstrate the same thing to them. Moving on to the red, because they like to be in control, you need to be very brief, get to the point, be bright, meaning be confident about it. They like people who are confident, and be gone. That's it. Be crisp, be succinct. Don't dilly-dally. Don't provide unnecessary detail. Just get to the point, get it, and go. They like to be in control. They're assertive people. Let them know wherever you can that they are in control. Also understand that because they're assertive, sometimes they may come across as they're personally attacking you. But that's how they are. It's not a personal attack. They generally are attacking on the issue. So understand that their nature is not a personal attack on you. They also sometimes tend to lose temper, and that's okay. That's part of it. Understand that that's how they are. So here are some of these thoughts here, and there's more. There's more detail that is there in some of the text that I'm going to share for further reading. That tells you how each of these energies are, how you can connect better with people with these energies, and thereby improving your communication skills with them, and also whatever outcome you're trying to get out of those interactions with them, you can apply this framework before you go into the meeting. So before you go interact with them, you can structure and plan your interaction that, hey, this is, let's say, a blue person, and my objective out of this meeting is to get him to do this, and he would think more in terms of the data and the analysis that needs to be done as to why it should be done. So anticipate that, gather that data, do that analysis, go with that to him, and then give him the time. Don't expect an answer that's going to come right away. Give him the time to digest, to understand, and then come back and see if he can get to where he gets to where you want him to be. So it's a framework. It's a framework that you can use to achieve your desired outcomes in your interactions. One of the key things is sometimes you would have to interact with not a single person, but you have to interact with a group. And you could also be in a situation where you may not know what the color energy of the groups are. And the strategy that the model says you apply in that situation is you try to cover all 4 colors. So you plan your interaction, you structure your interaction that you're addressing the blues, the green, the yellow, and the red, so that you're going through the entire spectrum, and at some point you're connecting with somebody or the other. Now that can be hard. That can be hard because, let's say my dominant energy is blue. It can be hard to structure the conversation to cover all these three different areas that I myself don't have a very good view in them, or I can't. My perspective is more blue. So the way to get around that is to interact with others within your team, or whoever you're trustworthy with, to review your structure, your story, before you go to the actual people who you're trying to influence, or trying to get the desired outcome from, and get the benefit of their perspective in achieving your desired goal. So that's where the diversity comes in, and more the greater the diversity in your team, that you can get different perspective and get different inputs, better the story you can make that touches upon all four of those quadrants. So that's where the diversity in a team becomes a strength. So just give an example. There's one person in Nokia who's been applying this as well, and in his team he's got 19 direct reports, and there are only 2 people who are on the yellow side of it. And he's telling them that these 2 people, that they were not getting as much involved in this interaction. He was telling them, both of you bring in a very different perspective than the rest of the 17, and you really need to engage more and get your perspective, so that collectively as a team we are able to achieve our goals better. So that's the thought, from going from accepting diversity to actually being fascinated by it and actually leveraging it to achieve your own team goals.
So we had some questions that just came in. So the first question is from Marissa, and Marissa is asking, how would someone interact with people who may not have a dominant color type and or reflect different color types in different situations? And actually, I'm going to blend that question with a statement/question that also came up, that I think they're both talking about the same thing. This other individual mentions this model puts people in the 4 types. But what happens if people have types in blue with some traits in yellow, red, and green? How do you deal with that? So I'll let you kind of tackle both questions at once. I think they actually line up with each other pretty well.
Sure. So yes, like I said before, all 4 of these color energies are in each one of them in varying degrees. We tend to use one more often, or we tend to use 1 or 2 more often than the others, and we tend to use one which may be the least one. So yes, there are energy levels that are there, and you have to, at least in the beginning, you have to go with which one the other person has the most dominant one and try to go with that. From a model perspective, yes, when we say there are just 4 color energies that are at play, not everybody may fit perfectly, and that's absolutely right. You can't take all the people and bucket them into these 4 buckets. The reason for 4 buckets is essentially to simplify it. If you look at the model, the insight discovery model, it starts from 4, then it gets into 8. Beyond that, it gets into 72 different types, and of course, beyond that is a profile which they claim can generate tens of billions of different unique combinations. So what makes this model easy to apply is that it allows you to start with 4 energies. It's easy enough to identify which of these 4 energy people are dominating in and apply it. If you start with, say, directly 8, which, by the way, I did too, it makes it hard. It makes it hard to put people into one of those 8 buckets, because 8 is too many. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why I found it difficult to apply Myers-Briggs as well, because Myers-Briggs actually creates 16 types to begin with, and it gets really challenging. Even if I had to take MBTI today and start to apply it, becomes really challenging for me at least to categorize a person in a matter of few minutes into one of the 16 categories, and then apply that because it is in this one of these 16 categories, this is how I should connect with him or respond to him. It just too many variables going on in the mind. So 4 makes it simple, makes it easy to apply. Is it exhaustive? No, not right. You start with 4, you go to 8. Beyond that you go to 72. So this person who I was talking to, who has 19 reports, each one of them took the survey, and each one of them has one of those 72 types, and they are responding in those 72 modes. Who is the most diverse, and where is the diversity on those 72 dimensions. So it gets pretty complicated as you go along. The beauty of the model is you start simple, and then you're able to scale it and become more precise, because when you go to 72, you don't really need to understand 72. All you need to understand is the 10 or 12 or 6 different personality types that you have in your team.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's all the questions we have at the moment, but keep them coming in. theproductmentor.com/live. Post your questions there, and we'll get them over to Vikas. That's it. Take it away.
All right. Okay, let me bring this back up here. All right, so the next section here is talking about how do we use this model in the context of managing stakeholders. And by managing stakeholders, I'm trying to define it slightly different from generally interacting with others, in the sense that we are trying to influence them as our roles in product managers, and often, or almost all the time, we do not have control or power over these people. We are trying to influence these people who can make decisions that impact us, and our motivation is to get them to make the decisions that we think are the best for our products, for our teams, and so on and so forth. So the key thing here is, again, more focused on what the decision-making style of these people with these lead energies are, and how or what actions you can do or to structure your story or structure your approach such that you can influence them. So again, starting with Blue, again, data-driven, logic-driven. So when you're trying to influence them, anticipate what data would be needed. Gather that data if you can. A lot of times the data may not be there. Try to assume some data if that's what you need to do, but it has to be data-driven. Quantify it where you can. If it's qualitative, try to quantify it and try to, if you're trying to compare, for instance, give scores and things like that. Come up with the logical analysis that you would do on the data. That analysis leads you to whatever decision you're trying to go to them with. So do that upfront work before you approach them. And then after you approach them, articulate it, give them their time to evaluate it, to understand it, to reflect on it, and come back. Avoid pushing them for a hasty decision. It's going to hurt on that. Also understand that because they take their time, their concerns or their feedback would not come to you right away. So it is your responsibility to go back to them after you've given your data and analysis, and then see, okay, what concerns have come up, is there some gap, and so on and so forth. So you had to go back and circle with them to understand what their concerns are a few days later, and so on. For those who are on the green side, the key thing is, as the driver is understanding, anticipate what their interests are and ensure that their interests are addressed. And it's not just their interest. You also have to see if you can know who are the people that they have deep relationships with, who are also part of your stakeholders or could impact those decisions. And see if you can get those individuals on your side before you approach them. In other words, you approach to these green people saying, okay, here are the other people who hopefully are in their set of people with their deep relationships, whose buy-in you already have, or whose interest you have addressed by whatever you've done, whatever you're proposing to them, so that their mind is going, okay, this person, that person, that person, these would be their concerns, and they just want to make sure that all their concerns are being addressed. Be honest, be sincere with them, and uh, again, tell them that you care for their interest and the interest of the people who are within the stakeholder community. Moving on to yellow. These are the people, like I said, who tend to visualize things. They're good at developing vision and coming up with creative ideas and so on and so forth. Try to understand what their vision is for your product, for your company, whatever is the scope. Understand where they want to take it, and try to connect what you are proposing with that vision. If what you are proposing is aligning us, or is aligning you to achieve that vision, make that vision a reality, that's what you want to highlight. Involve them. Before you make a formal presentation, share with them, for example, this is what you're going to present. Get their input before that, so that they are involved in the presentation itself, if you can do that. Understand that these people, because they have a lot of relationships, they're social, they have a lot of network, they can be very helpful for you in getting the right people, and they can also be very helpful in persuading and motivating these other people to get aligned with your vision. So understand that, and the key there is to try to involve them as much as you can upfront to them, and try to get to them that, okay, these other people have also been involved, so that they get the feeling that it's not just a few of the people that are involved, but a wider set of people, whoever the proper set of people in that stakeholder situation are involved. Moving to the red, their focus is what are we doing, why are we doing, and when. When are we doing? It's very important. Go with specific actions that are practical with timeline. The key is with timeline. We will do this. We will do this because of this. No more than a few bullets, and we will do it by this date. That's how you got to go approach them. Be very confident and be very, very concise. Show them that they are in control. They like to be in control. If there's anything that you have done that came as direction from them, or you know they like the direction, you know they want to go in that direction, mention that. Get them to feel that they are in control. The other thing with reds is, even though they may have agreed with the opposition, don't expect that you will get a complete explicit agreement from them. They might be okay, kind of, we'll do it, but don't expect that you will get a complete agreement with them. And like I said, in the previous stage, they tend to be assertive. If something is coming across to you as personal attacks, don't look at it like that. It generally is not personal, and they're just more authoritative, more commanding and controlling, and that's how they are. So that's using providing a framework here with these color energies to how to use these color energies to manage your stakeholders better. And the same logic applies in the previous one. If you do not know the colors of your stakeholders, and it's a group of stakeholders, try to address all of them. How to build a story that addresses all of them. Interact with your own team members, not the stakeholders, your own team member, who themselves have those color energies, such that you get their input, get their perspective, and strengthen those stories to address each of those colors. Bring in that diversity from your team to come up with a story that addresses either all the energies that you have, or the set of energies that you want to focus on. That's the application.
So we have Furkan has a few questions. So let me hand it over to him. Let him ask one question at a time, and let you kind of tackle them one at a time.
Sure.
Okay, so my first question is that for an organization management team, how important is the mix of different personality types? Does diversity guarantee success and vice versa?
Well, I wouldn't say guarantee. I think guarantee is too strong a word, but my personal view is that yes, you tend to make better decisions if you have a diverse set of stakeholders. But there are flip sides that come to it. If you have too big a stakeholder team, then trying to make decisions with consensus, for example, tends to have its own drawbacks. Sometimes it may take longer to make decisions when decisions need to be made very, very quickly. Sometimes you could get into arguments which could either derail from the main topic, or could be arguments on minutiae, for example. So there are some drawbacks out there, but I would say at a high level, yes. In a general situation, having all four color energies represented in your decision-making body tends to make you get more effective decisions.
Thank you. And another one is that instead of individuals, can we map this approach on different departments? For example, if I look, when you were talking and there were different departments going on in my mind, if I look at sales, they are more inclined towards red. If I look at product people, they are more inclined towards blue, developers at green, project people at yellow. So does that work? You can have guidelines to communicate with them
Well, my
differently.
view would be to not bucket a particular functional area to a dominant color energy. There may be some correlation there, but it's the other way around. It's chances are that if you're in technology role, your chances are you're blue, right? But I wouldn't go the other way around, because a lot of people choose their career not because of their choices, not because they prefer color energies, because of other reasons. So um, I would not um, make a I would not prejudice or make a prejudgment, because it's very easy, if you once you start to apply how people speak, how they interact with their body language, it's very easy to get to that color energy, and um, you don't need to know what background or what functionality they come from, and which may be inaccurate to begin with.
Okay.
Excellent. Oh, we just had another question come in. Cornell, is this you who asked the question?
Yeah,
Then go ahead, ask it away.
sure. So, because would it be beneficial to the team if you're open about this kind of analysis that you're doing for each of them, or you do it discreetly for both the development team and for managing stakeholders? Because in my example, we do talk about personality types.
Mm-hmm. See, the way I look at it from your own team perspective, it's actually, I would say, definitely more effective. It might just be a prerequisite that if you're using the team and you're using this framework to approach your stakeholders, that your team is aware of what this framework is and is aligned with it, and they also, each one of themselves, know what their lead energies are, and because of which how well they can contribute and what areas they can contribute in. So at your own team level, yes, it has to be there. At the stakeholders level, you may or may not, you don't control them. You may or may not be able to drive them to do that. And over there, um, you know, you can be, you don't have to hide it, but you can apply it. You're building a story with using a framework, and you do not, if the other party does not understand the framework, there's no point making any references to any of that. But you can define your story, you can structure your story to address the right color energies. So to them, they're not seeing anything about the model, they're just seeing a story, but a story that is more resonating than a story that's not.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Jeremy.
I noticed. So keep the questions coming in to the productmentor.com/live. With that said, Vikas, take it away.
All right. So I think I've covered the gist of it. Here's some more slides. These are the 8 types that I talked about. Once you're comfortable with 4, get into 8. It has similar, how to identify and how to interact for 8 types. The 72 types that I talked about here. The one big dot, the big dot that you see here on number 41, that's my own profile that was done You can see red is the most dominant, followed by blue, green, and then the least dominant for me is yellow. So in terms of the specific actions that you can take, like I was mentioning, it's easier to start with 4 color energies and then move up 872. The critical thing is to practice, and I stress it. Practice, 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 because unless you apply it, you don't get better at it, and it is something that you just have to uh, apply to be able to get the benefit out of it. So practice, practice, practice. What helps is if you can get a buddy in your team who's working close to you, and 2 of you or 3 of you are doing it together, then you encourage each other, and it just makes it easier to apply it more often. In terms of tracking progress, how often you do it, to me, I think the key metric is not just applying, but also how often do you feel awkward applying about it. To me, that's a metric that you can track and to see how you're progressing. Here's some additional material. There's a book called Differing. It's a book by the authors of MBTI, Isabel and Myers-Briggs, and this one is not exactly on the insight discovery model, but it has same theory as that comes from Carl Jung. So you will get a theoretical understanding of the model, what comes out of it. And I read it because the blue energy in me wanted to get more and more data. So I read it, and I had to resonate with the basics before I could apply it. So you could read it if that's something you find interesting. There are some interesting talks on YouTube. I've listed a couple of them which talk about what it is, and then there are some more talks as well. Feel free to browse it and get the benefit out of it. One of the benefits of this insight discovery model is the fact that it is being used so widely. You'll get fair amount of resources over the internet for free, and of course there are resources that you can pay and get, and that you can use for yourself. So that's one of the positive of this model, is that there's material out there that people have put that you can use for your advantage. Insights.com, that's their website. Fair amount of information there. Their certified practitioners blog there. You can get a view. You can get interesting insights there. And then the Twitter feed. The Twitter feed. The benefit of Twitter feed is essentially that it forces you to apply. Or at least in my case, when I was applying, I used to apply it and then I forget to apply it, and then I remind myself to apply it again. And the benefit of Twitter feed is that because it keeps coming there, to me it was reminding me to apply. And of course you keep getting additional insights around how other people are using it and what their experiences are. But to me the key value was on getting me a reminder to apply it so often. So to summarize it, what's important is awareness of your own color energy. Understand that whatever color energy you lead with, you look at the rest of the world through that lens. There's nothing right or wrong about a particular energy. It's a preference, just like being left-handed and right-handed. You have to recognize the color energy in others. We talked about some of the non-verbal cues as well. And once you recognize the energy in others, the whole idea is to adjust your color energy to match with others. That's the gist of the model, if you will. And here's the little circle that again comes from Insights, which is a good to help you crystallize each energy in few very precise bullets. Blue, show me the details, get the data, get the analysis. Green, show me that you care. Caring and understanding is key. Yellow, involve me. I like to be involved, make sure I'm involved, make sure all the others are involved. And finally, red, be brief, be bright, and be gone. So finally, let me just go here one more. So finally, if you are wanting to take your communication skills to a whole new level, this model provides you a framework to structure and plan your interaction such that you can get the desired outcome from that interaction. It's a framework that has a lot of resources that you can use for yourself. And it's a framework that is backed by research that it works. So it's a good framework. It's a good framework that I've applied. And if you decide to go down the path of applying this framework, then the benefits are more, way more than just improving communication skills and managing your stakeholder expectations.
So we just had a question come in from Furkan. You want to take it away?
Okay. So can you change your default energy level?
Okay, that's a good question. What they say, and maybe I'll show one slide. I'll go back to one of the slides here. What the model says is that, I'm going to put it on full screen, sorry. What the model says is that you generally, hold on. Okay, maybe I'm not sharing it right. 1 second. So what the model says is that you need to be able to increase or decrease your energy level depending on the situation. If the situation warrants that you increase your particular energy level, you should be able to do that. But when you do that, it tends to drain you. You know, you're a right-hander, you eat food with the right hand, and you're driving or stretching yourself to eat food with the left hand, it will drain you. It will tend to get you tired. So the whole idea is, you try to increase your energy level, drain it, and then come back to your normal self, and that would tend to relax you. And then you get a little bit more energy to go out and do it. And it's interesting, that people do that. People do that all the time. And when they did the profile, and I'm showing here, there are two circles. One is this solid circle, and one is this shaded circle. And the solid circle is part of the profile, which is what they call as our conscious state, meaning after making all that effort, what is the color energy mix that we give. And this is the shaded one is our natural or our unconscious, if you will, color energy mix. So if you look at my case here, in my unconscious state, I'm a predominant blue, followed by red, then yellow, and least green. Whereas if you look at my conscious state of affairs, my predominant color energy is red, blue has gone down, and green has gone up somewhat more, and actually yellow has shrunk. So we all have this conscious, unconscious, and I know I probably changes over time as well, and we all try to do different things. So the short answer is, at a conscious level, I don't know if things could change a whole lot, but definitely at a conscious level, what we try to do, I think we can certainly change our energies. Which one is our lead and which one is our second most, we can, I think we can do that. And the other point I would mention is what the model says is that as for your individual growth, the driver is to get to a point where you have multiple energies that are above a certain threshold. So if you look at this model here, the model which is on the periphery, at the outer periphery, these numbers are where there's only one color energy that is above a certain threshold. The middle periphery is where your two energies are above a certain threshold, and the innermost is where you have three color energies that are above a certain threshold. So they say that you want to be in the three, where you have three energies that are above a certain threshold, so you can pick from those three energies and shoot up one of them or two of them depending on the situation. So it's a long-winded answer to your question, Furkan, but to summarize it, the short answer is yes, you could do it. At least for the conscious level, you could change it. For the unconscious level, it may change based on experiences and all, but I'm really not sure about that.
Excellent, yeah. I was thinking that same question, so thanks for asking it. So also thank you to our speaker, Vikas Batra, Product Management Leader at Nokia, for today's discussion of using insights discovery And as always, the presentation will be posted to our SlideShare channel. And a big thank you from me, Jeremy Horn, the product guy, and everyone else who joined us today and the product mentor. And also, don't forget, if you're interested in being a product mentor, like today's speaker, Vikas, to product people of all sorts all around the world, visit theproductmentor.com and sign up today. Session 6 starts January 8th, and if you want to be a mentor, sign up today to be a mentor for that upcoming session. And also, if you're looking to fill a new product job with a great product person, visit our very own free-for-all job board at theproductjobs.com. And with all that said, I'll see you guys all next time at another Mentor Talk. Bye.
Thank you.